Look at this. 20,000 people, the most technologically advanced concert venue on earth. A band that started as a group of teenagers in a garage in Anaheim, California, playing ska music for fun, selling out the Sphere in 2026. 30 years, same core team. And if you're new here, I'm Jen. I help small business owners lead other humans like a human. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. This is not a music story. This is a business story. Because No Doubt is a small business that survived every single thing that takes small businesses out. And I mean every single thing.
We've gone through a lot of stuff as a band.
They had a founder who left.
Eric, who founded our band, left the band.
Eric's right here, the artist. Hey, Eric.
Oh, well, hello, Gwen.
A romantic implosion between two key team members.
Gwen and I split up.
A decade of zero commercial success. One person becoming so famous that she outgrew the whole operation and then came back anyway. They've literally survived it all.
But through all that stuff, we persevered and we kept going.
And now they're playing the Sphere. So if you're building something and trying to figure out how to make it last, or if you work for someone who's clearly figuring it out in real time, pay attention, because this band left a map and almost nobody is talking about it. No Doubt was Eric Stefani's idea. He's the one who started it, right? He's the one who wrote the early songs. He was the creative engine, the visionary, and the reason that the band exists at all. And then, right before they were about to break through, he left. He didn't get fired. He wasn't pushed out. He left because he was honest enough to recognize that the band had become something different from what he'd signed up for. And he wasn't the right person to take it there. He went on to work on The Simpsons, so by all accounts, he's doing fine. But here's what I want you to sit with. Starting something and leading something are not the same skill. And the gap between those two things destroys more small businesses than almost anything else. Starting requires obsession and vision and a tolerance for chaos that borders on irrational, right? That's good, you need that. But leading requires holding other people's realities alongside your own. It means making decisions that serve the team and not just the dream. And for some founders, brilliant, passionate, genuinely talented founders, right? That shift never actually clicks. The thing they built starts to feel like it's moving away from them. And that's because it is. That's what growth looks like, right? So Eric didn't fail. He made a hard, self-aware choice to step aside rather than hold the band back by clinging to something it had outgrown. So if you're a first-time business owner, bookmark that, because there will be a moment, maybe soon, maybe years from now, where you have to ask yourself, am I actually leading this, or am I just really attached to having been the one who started it? Those are not the same question, and how you answer it will determine everything. And if you're watching this as someone whose boss is clearly stuck in founder mode, making decisions that feel more like self-protection than strategy, you just watch this play out. It's not personal. It's one of the hardest transitions in business, and a lot of people never make it. When No Doubt broke through, Gwen Stefani broke through. Not the band, just Gwen. Her face on the covers, her style became the aesthetic, her voice was the thing everyone sang in the car. Tony, Tom, and Adrian, world-class musicians who helped build everything, became, in the public eye, Gwen's band. Now put that in your business. You co-found something with people you trust. You all do the work. And then the market decides that one of you is the face. One of you gets the press, the recognition, the brand, and everyone else becomes supporting cast in a story that you all wrote together. That dynamic is a team killer. It happens in agencies, restaurants, creative studios, consulting firms. One person's face becomes the business, and everyone else has to figure out how to feel about that, usually without anyone ever talking about it directly. No Doubt navigated it. And here's what I think made the difference. They made it a structure, not an accident. Gwen being the face wasn't something they managed around. It became a conscious, named arrangement. She was the front person. They were elite musicians who made music worth fronting. The clarity of that gave everyone something real to stand on. That's the move. Not pretending the spotlight is even when it isn't. Not the empty, you're just as important speech that nobody actually believes. The move is honesty. Here's what the business needs, here's the role you play, here's why it actually matters, and then demonstrating that last part. Because what I see constantly in small businesses is someone becoming the face by default. No conversation happens, the resentment builds in silence, and then it just explodes. Or the face starts believing their own press and forgets there are people behind them making it work. Neither of those happened with No Doubt. And 30 years later, all 4 of them are at the Sphere, not one of them collecting a paycheck in the parking lot. I think we all know that Tony and Gwen dated for 7 years. He broke up with her. She wrote Don't Speak.
If you look at Don't Speak, the song's about Gwen and I breaking up. But at the time, we were like, what would be the worst thing that could happen? It'd be if the band broke up. So we made the video about that. And I think no matter what, there's still that bond that we will always have. And here we are, almost 40 years later, still playing together.
And then Don't Speak became one of the best-selling singles of the entire decade. And then they kept working together. So sit with that, because that is not a normal outcome. When a romantic relationship breaks down inside a business, co-founders, partners, a key manager, and an owner, most of the time, one of 2 things happens. Someone leaves, or the business slowly poisons from the inside out. No Doubt pulled off a 3rd option, and it didn't happen by accident. First, the pain became the work. Gwen processed the breakup through the music. Tony played on the songs about the breakup. That is a level of professional maturity that most people in that situation simply cannot access. It requires a commitment to the mission that is genuinely bigger than the personal wound. Second, they had enough structure around them that the rupture didn't take down the whole system. It wasn't just Tony and Gwen holding everything. There were other people, other relationships, and other anchors. Businesses built too thin, especially where 2 people are the whole thing, are the most vulnerable to exactly this kind of collapse. And third, and this is the one that nobody talks about, they named it. A secret wound festers, but a named wound can sometimes actually heal. And getting honest about what happened faster than it's comfortable is what creates any path forward at all. If you have a key relationship in your business that's currently breaking down with a co-founder, a partner, your most important employee, I'm not going to tell you that it'll be fine. I'm going to tell you the only road to fine runs directly through a conversation you've probably been avoiding. And that is exactly why I built my Hard Conversations workbook. It's got scripts, prompts, and real frameworks for the moments that feel impossible, including this one. Link is in the description. Not a lecture, just tools for when you need them. No Doubt played their first show in 1987. Tragic Kingdom was the album, right? Spiderwebs, Just a Girl, Don't Speak, the whole thing, that all came out in 1995. There were 8 years of small venues and rejected demos and being the band that everyone in the industry passed on. 8 years of watching other acts break through while they just kept showing up. Most businesses don't survive 8 years. Most don't survive 8 months, if we're being honest. And here's the thing about the obscurity years that almost nobody in the business content world will say to your face. The waiting period is not a detour. It's the part where you find out who your team actually is. You cannot know who is genuinely in it with you until there is nothing external keeping them there. No momentum, no buzz, no imminent payoff. When it's just the work and the belief in each other, the people who stay are the people who actually belong. No Doubt learned that they had 4 people who were completely, genuinely in it. That's not information you can manufacture. It costs time to know for real. I'm not going to romanticize those years. They're hard. They wear people down, including you. But if you're currently in them, here's what your job actually is. Stay honest with your team about exactly where you are. Protect the culture before the culture gets desperate. And make sure the people around you are choosing to stay, not just staying because they don't know what else to do. A team that's waiting around looks identical to a team that's committed until it doesn't. You need to know which one you have, and the only way to know is to ask. In 2003, Gwen went solo, and she didn't go quietly. She had a #1 album, a fashion empire, a Grammy. It was a cultural moment that was entirely unambiguously hers. No band, no shared credit, no asterisk. She did come back to No Doubt in 2012. Why? That question matters more than it sounds like it does. By going solo, she gained everything that the band couldn't give her. Full creative control, undivided spotlight, total freedom of movement. No consensus required, just her vision fully realized. So why come back? because the band had something she couldn't replicate alone. 25 years of shared history with people who knew exactly who she was before any of this happened. It was a sound that only exists when those 4 specific people are in a room together. Something she hadn't built by herself, which meant it was bigger than her in a way her solo work could never be. That's the offer a team makes to someone who could leave. I'm the thing you cannot build alone. This is the lesson that small business owners in the key person trap need most. If your best employee, your indispensable co-founder, your most critical person is a flight risk, and your retention strategy is loyalty, guilt, or a raise, you are playing the wrong game entirely. The real game is, can you make what you're building together worth more to them than what they'd build alone? That's not just compensation, it's the quality of the relationships. That's quite literally the meaning of the mission.
People say that we can't choose our families, but we did.
This is my favorite moment right now, when the 4 of us are together.
We've always been a family. Family since the beginning.
Whether they feel like a co-creator or a very well-paid contractor. Gwen came back because no doubt had something she couldn't manufacture. Ask yourself, honestly, does your team have that? And if not, what would it actually take to build it? And then there's this, the Sphere in 2026, sold out. 4 people who met as teenagers in Anaheim, who survived a founder walking away, a romantic implosion, a decade of obscurity, global fame with an uneven spotlight, and a 7-year split. Who made some of the defining music of the 90s and then had to figure out who they were to each other when the cultural moment passed. They're still here. That's not luck. That's not chemistry. That's 30 years of choosing to have the hard conversations instead of letting things fester. 30 years of being honest about roles and resentment and what the business actually needed. 30 years of 4 people deciding over and over and over that what they built together was worth more than what any of them could build alone. That is available to you. Not the Sphere. Maybe the Sphere. Who knows? The thing where you look up after 30 years and what you built is still standing and still selling out, and the people who built it with you are still there. It requires the conversations you've been avoiding. It requires knowing the difference between the people who are really in it and the people who are just sort of around. It requires being honest with yourself about whether you're leading or just holding on. But it is available. And now you have the map. And if you're watching this as someone whose leader hasn't figured this out yet, please share it with them. Not to call them out, because this stuff is genuinely hard and most people are just trying to figure it out without a roadmap. And now they have one. If any section of this video hit close to home, the conversation you've been avoiding, the relationship that's fraying, the team member you're not sure how to keep, that Hard Conversations workbook was built exactly for that. Real scripts, real prompts, frameworks you can use when things get uncomfortable, because the conversations that feel impossible are usually just ones nobody gave you the language for yet. The link is in the description. Go get it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.